Garcia off the deflection. Los Fresnos comes back and wins. Santa Maria will put up a three. Bang! Santa Maria!
Here's Warner. Here comes a headed jam. Counted for two. Field. Adios! And the Falcons win on a walk-off. And it's saved. What a game. Cortez smacked
To the left. That is gone.
Rob for Perez. That's my play. Off the backboard. Count it. And a win.
And a win. Ryan Perez wins the game for the Santa Rosa Warriors.
Welcome back to another show here. We are coming to you from Luke Fruia Motors in Brownsville, Texas. Another Talkin Sports edition on a Wednesday afternoon. Joe Bowling with you. Kevin Narrow to my right-hand side. Just talking about, as that intro went there, the Ryan Perez shot, Kevin, may be replaced with a shot that was heard on our broadcast just this last week.
It's Kimora Fagan. We wrapped up the Vipers showcase this past Saturday at the Bird Ogden Arena. That girls' game was quite the game. Really from the first half, Joe, those teams, like I mentioned on air, that we see those teams kind of get the feel for each other. They're kind of less defense, more shooting. It's more of an all-star type feel. Some girls are shaking off rust. But no, that wasn't the case. Both teams, they really they got up and went really from the first quarter. And, Dana Sedna had a great first half for the West. Janae Coleman from Edinburgh Vela, also from the West. And then Eliza Rodriguez on the east side representing Rio Hondo. I mean, she stood out. She showed why she's one of the better players. And then Kimora Fagan, of course, outside of that crazy shot that she made, she had herself a great ball game as well. So, I thought that collectively us and Mario did an extremely good job on hosting that showcase this past Saturday on both the girls and boys side. But, wow, what a way to end it. And I remember you asked me, I said, well, their money is either Ashley Gonzalez or Kimora Fagan. And, you saw how they went to Ashley and they triple-teamed her, and she just got that ball and saw Fagan open. And that was an NBA three. I think that's what people are don't remember. I mean, that was a
She was well beyond the arc
beyond.
when she let that shot fly, and it was not a banker. It wasn't one of those, oh my gosh, I can't believe it went in. That was like legitimate within the rhythm of shooting, and it went in. But lost in the mix, Kevin.
Yeah.
Was 4.9 seconds before that shot went in. Was a shot that could have won that game.
Right,
It came down to that. Each team was taking the lead on possessions, and so the shot that could have won it all has been lost in the mix.
Yeah. Everyone unfortunately forgot about that last play that Lainey Mata made from Port Isabel, where she, got the rebound, put it back up, got her own rebound, and just fended everyone off, and Mighty Moused it back into the basket. And I'm like, oh yeah, so they're up. So everyone forgot about that play, and it was not an easy play to make. And Mata did everything she could to get that ball back in the hole, and she did all on her own by getting her own rebound. That was a crazy play in itself, but of course, unfortunately, that just got trumped by that miraculous shot by Kimora Fagan. And J.D. Salinas happened to be there at the game, and I ended up texting him later that day, and I sent him the actual clip, so he was able to rewatch it I don't know how many times. I rewatched it, and in fact, we visited some friends that evening, and I think it was the Florida Atlantic who they beat that evening. They upsetted someone that Saturday evening, but along the lines of March Madness, that was the shot that I was showing people. And, and I know Dana Sedna after the game, she's like, this beats March Madness. She goes, that was insane. And I think the best part about it was if you go back and watch the clip, I don't remember who it was from the east side, but when that shot went up, the girl just turns around, she goes,
yeah.
If you look back in the film, the girl just looks back. Wow.
I was just on the court for that.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of the court, the coach was halfway across the court. He was already celebrating. He knew that shot was going in.
Yeah.
You got to give credit to where it was. That wasn't a quick throw it in, let's do something. That was a design play. We're going to get it to Ashley. We're going to see what she draws. When the triple team came, Ashley recognizing, and again, strength on Ashley Gonzalez, a prolific scorer of being able to recognize, I'm going to find the open shooter, and the rotation just wasn't there, and that shot wide open for Kimora Fagan, and then you got to make it.
Yeah, and Kimora, she had already made a shot like that earlier in the game. So she had already shot from well beyond the arc in that first half, and Ashley too, Eliza. So those girls showed off some serious range. And then on the boys' side, not the exact thrilling of a finish, but we still saw some quality talent.
Well, you saw quality talent, and what you did see was one team erase a 12-point deficit and then extend and win the game. So adjustments on the fly. Again, you're talking about 5 in, 5 out substitution patterns for the RGV Vipers showcase. And so, that is understanding on the bench and understanding that, hey, who am I playing with right now and how do we produce? But, it was a flip of the switch. It went from 12 points down to a double-digit victory on the other side, on the boys' side.
Yeah, and that was the west side wound up getting that win. So I think on paper, folks may have put their money on the east side.
Because of the scores.
Because of the scores and just the branding alone. But either way, it wound up being a pretty good day of basketball, and I wound up going to the Viper game later that night, and they wound up winning, and they're going to the playoffs too. So, they weren't joking. They said they were expecting a big crowd at Bird Ogden, and we got to the game the game was at 7:30. I got there probably about 8, and I parked in the back parking lot. I didn't even know they had parking back there, but the place was packed, and I saw a bunch of people wearing the Viper Showcase shirts. So it was a good day for basketball. It was a good day for Valley basketball, for all the kids able to go out there and play. I'd say one more time, but there's still a couple more games left on the schedule. Yeah,
and a couple games now, because that builds into our teams and our showcase, the Real Sports Live Showcase. Now we can go front and center in the production of that, which we have been in the background for the past several weeks. The several days have been nonstop in preparation for the Real Sports Live Showcase. Kevin, more teams, more players, more games. Dare I say more on the line with a same format as last year, in which we have 2 pools playing for eventual champions and some real bragging rights by the time it's all said and done on Sunday.
Yeah, certainly more bragging rights are going to be on the line, especially with the way we've cooked it up to where it's not necessarily an East versus West. So within house, being within the Valley, some of these rosters have teammates going against each other.
Some of these have brothers going against each other.
That was my next point, was that even we have some brothers that are going to be going up against each other. So all around different kind of bragging rights. And last year when I visited with the teams, I said, you guys are from the Valley, and let's go out there and represent the Valley well. And you guys are going to be playing against Laredo. You guys are going to be playing against Corpus. So I encouraged them to take some pride in it and want to represent the Valley well and kind of take on the teams from north of us. So.
And in this case, it's expanded quite a bit. We have players coming in from El Paso, from the Corpus area, once again, outside the Corpus area, up into the Dallas area, with players that have already signed up that are going to be in the showcase. It's going to be a different brand of basketball, but the neat thing about it is that these are players that have all been showcased on our broadcast at some point in time. And so fans who were at a game that didn't get to see some of these players are going to get a real treat as far as the level of basketball competition that's coming into this showcase. Our chore, first and foremost, was to get the invitations out. We got that. Our coaches have been assisting us greatly in getting their players to sign up. But it's not just getting them to sign up. It's getting the coordination now of constructing these rosters. My initial game plan was to have the UIL schools contained, to have the TAP schools contained, have the charter schools contained, and keep those players all playing together for an eventual bragging rights kind of a different level in that private, public, private charter versus private TAPs. That, as of right now, this afternoon at 2:30 p.m., is still a possibility. We are waiting right now for some key signups that we've been told are going to happen. If they happen, then that is indeed how everyone will be in their lanes, Kevin, and it's going to be something else. The teams, we've already got them constructed. I would love to say let's reveal the teams. I can't do that. I can't say let's reveal some of the players because some of the players that we can talk about, Kevin, certainly make up what is going to be a lot of basketball talent on a 3-day span.
Right. As far as, the Valley talent, it's just as good as it was last year. We are missing a few marquee names, because some kids just, they're going to be playing on the college level. They chose not to play respectively, and, we can respect that. But I think the new chink in the armor this year is these charter schools and bringing on, these kids from Waco, Da Vinci, leadership prep schools I've never even heard of.
Until we broadcast them.
Until you went up there and did it. Until then, I didn't know any of those schools, and I was educated on it. But Mark and I were, like I said, we were looking at, we were uploading some stuff the other day, and then we wound up seeing some clips on your desktop of some of these kids, and I was like, wow, those are some players. So the talent is there. That's coming up from the up north, and let's not forget, too, we're going to have a dunk contest, and we're going to have a three-point shootout. I know last year that was in the cards, but we just weren't able to put it together. But this year, given that, the Bird Ogden Arena is there now, and we're going to have the luxury of going over to the Vipers facility, having 2 courts going on at the same time, that kind of opened up some doors for us. But I'm really excited for the, Friday night, the opening ceremonies, the players, that's where they'll get their uniforms. I think they're going to look really nice. They looked really sharp last year. I liked the Rebels look, kind of like an orange-black Halloweenish kind of look. I know some people were fans of the Lightning look and the Racers, and then, but the three-point shootout I think is going to be a lot of fun, especially with some of the shooters we have down here. I know there's a couple of shooters. I almost spilled the beans. There's just a couple of shooters in the Coastal Bend that they can light it up as well. And then the dunk contest. I know you have a couple tricks up your sleeve with how we're going to work the dunk contest, but I think that dunk contest is going to be a lot of fun. I know the last time we had one was in Los Fresnos with the
with their showcase or their annual tournament that they put together.
Right,
Marco Hinojosa bringing in teams from Dallas and from around. And this will, dare I say, it'll trump that because, again, you got to see some of the highlight clips of just some of the players that are going to be in that dunk contest this year. I know, Mr. Clower over at Mercedes is able to throw it down, and he's going to have some competition coming at him.
Well, there's a teaser.
Yep. No, we're going to name some names here as far as who's already signed up.
Are we allowed to name names?
We're just not going to throw
names?
teams.
Oh, okay.
We'll just name names. We're going to throw some names out there. Again, the teams, if all works right, we'll release the teams as early as this evening. We have coaches that are wanting to put together practices. I know parents are eager to find out, who their sons and daughters are playing with and against, and and we want to make sure we get that all constructed. We were on a hard deadline of getting it done this week, and I put a even harder deadline on. We want to get the final sign-ups today and get these teams in the mix. But just going down the girls' side, coming from the Coastal Bend, Kara Davis, Maggie Moorman, Siley Lopez, Jocelyn Villarreal, Michaela Boyd, Cadence Menchaca, Melissa Rogers, Mariah Aleja, and Laria Garza are just a few that have signed up right now. So Corey is up there, and he said it straight up out of the gate. I'm not putting a team together just to represent. I'm putting a team together I want to win with. And he has Cal Allen coming in, some of the other schools from up in the Coastal Bend. They're coming.
Yeah, H.M. King, and it's a good little blend of kids coming from the Coastal Bend for sure.
On the girls' side, coming out of the RGV area, Ashley Gonzalez, Jamie Gonzalez, Riley McClarity, Alexis Garcia. That's coming on the state champion team that's coming in. You look up and down the names that have signed up, Kevin, as we're constructing these rosters. Of course, Janae Coleman is coming, Morgan Perales, Gigi Betancourt, Olivia Parr, Alexa Torres, just to name a few. We can go right down the line.
Yeah.
Yep. So
there's no shortage of star power, and looking at one of these teams, and I'm just looking at the names, the complete roster, and it excites me.
Yulissa
really
Yebra, Angie Reyes, Mercedes Sanchez, Emily Caranco. I can keep going. Roma Elizondo, Layla Salas, Emily Molina, Evelyn Valero, Marley Perez. That's just a few that have signed up. And again, we're mixing and matching these rosters right now to make it as competitive as possible for the players, for the fans. And again, when we get to those final games on Sunday, after we've played 2 pool games and sorted all out into first, second, and third place in pools, should be a lot of fun on the girls' side especially.
Yeah, for sure.
Take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more. We're talking about the RGV, the Rio Sports Live Network Showcase, which is April 14th, 15th, and 16th. Those of you interested in tickets, reach out. That is solely contained through the Vipers organization. And so tickets are going to be available. They are available through the RGV Vipers and the Bird Ogden Arena, the normal ticketing over there for the event. And, again, the games are going to be played on the 15th and 16th with an opening ceremony on the 14th. There is a deal in which one ticket buys an admittance to all. And so, again, more details coming on that as we continue to talk about our Rio Sports Live Network Showcase, April 14th, 15th, and 16th. We'll be back with more after this. Back here talking sports at Luke Fruia Motors, home of Buick GMC Cadillac in Brownsville, Texas. The big Cadillac sign right behind us should be an indication that we're at Luke Fruia Motors once again on a Wednesday. Our thanks for Luke Fruia for being one of our sponsors here on Rio Sports Live on the network, on the Bloodhound channel, on the primary channels. When we're doing broadcasts, Luke Fruia Motors is an integral part of what we do here on Rio Sports Live. If you're in the market for a new car or a used car, either one, Luke Fruia Motors right here in Brownsville, Texas has you covered. I remember when we started back in the COVID days, the lot wasn't very full. Right now I'm looking out here at a full lot of cars that are available, a full selection. I see some people over on the right-hand side here off camera that are right now signing another deal at Luke Fruia Motors. Happy customers driving away in a brand new car. Also, the used lot is full and available. So if you're in the market, new or used, Luke Fruia Motors is your spot right here in Brownsville, Texas. And if not, at the very least, stop by and tell them, hey, thanks for being a part of Rio Sports Live so that we can bring you the coverage that we bring you. It's sponsors like Luke Fruia Motors that make it a distinct possibility. Okay, we continue to talk about our Rio Sports Live Showcase. It's basketball all day on Saturday on the 15th. Those games will be played over at the Vipers practice facility. Reason being, 2 courts. Makes it for a much shorter day than last year when we had everything on one court on the island and people were playing at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, for sure. You know, we're going to be able to have 2 courts, and I think the way you construct it is boys, girls. So it's going to be funneling. It's not going to be strictly one court for boys, one court for girls, but they're going to be funneling. And if you've been there, you know that they're going to have one court here and one court here, so they're going to be right next to each other. It's very convenient. I know there's bathrooms on the back side there, easy to get to, and then down the hallway there's more bathrooms there. It's a really beautiful facility, and I think these kids are going to really enjoy it. And I mean, I can almost guarantee all of them have already played there because that's where the Venom League is hosted for volleyball. There's always summer leagues going on with the Vipers for basketball, so boys and girls. So everyone's really familiar with that place, and it's a good location. Like I said, I'm happy that it's in my hometown of Edinburgh, and there's and then at the Bird Ogden Arena as well. I think no better place to have it than there at the Bird Ogden Arena where the Vipers play, and there's a lot of places to go eat. It's very convenient to have it there in Edinburgh, and Andrew Garza has done a really good job with the Vipers Academy there in Edinburgh, and I know it's really popular in at home in Edinburgh. A lot of the younger kids like playing in leagues there, and there's people there 24/7, 365 days out of the year. Especially during basketball season. But summertime, there's always leagues, there's always tournaments, so there's always a lot going on there. So I think it's a great place to have it.
NBA courts means NBA shot clocks are going to be in play with our showcase. We'll go over more on the format as we get closer to that. It's 2 weeks away, coming up on Friday night. And so it's closer than you think as far as that goes. Again, building on it from last year's showcase, I thought we had a terrific turnout last year and completely took the reins on that first year, Kevin. And we had the facility secured. We just weren't sure we could get players to commit. And Brian Pinkerton stepped up and said, you know what? I can still put on a showcase. Let me get this done. And so we kind of built off of what Brian did on the early foundation with last year's showcase, which brought a lot of good response, a lot of good players. And we've refined it quite a bit. This year should be an even bigger and badder event as far as the talent and then the coordination of the games being played. Fans that are coming in from out of town are going to have a chance to come in, watch the basketball games, and then see the surrounding area. So the city of Edinburgh will be showcased, if you will, for the fans that are coming in from out of town. Looking again on the boys' side, this is where again, we are looking at the representation coming in from the UIL schools, from the charter schools, and from the TAP schools. And you're talking about some serious firepower once again loading up on the boys' side.
Yeah, just looking at the roster, there's plenty of guys. Jerry Martinez from Brownsville St. Joe, which he committed, by the way, last night officially. That freshman through senior, there's not you don't have to be a senior or a junior to play in this showcase. So there's a lot of youth. There's a lot of sophomores on this list, and between the three teams we have, in the RGV, JJ Salazar had a big year for Los Fresnos. I know he's a junior. Ethan Moya from La Jolla, he was one of the top scorers. Mando Trevino, who was a junior this year for McCallum Memorial. A lot of people feel that this was his true breakout year, and next year he'll be considered one of the better players we have in the RGV. And Marco Coleo. So there's plenty of names on this list, 1 through 3 as far as the Valley teams goes, and there's a lot of size and there's a lot of scorers certainly.
And there certainly will need to be, because coming out of the Coastal Bend, you're talking about the Malachi Calderones, Sean Williams, Truman Thompson, Ty Dominguez, Josh Trevino, Caden McClure, Josine Dembo, CJ Garza, Jaden Lozano, Christopher Jones, just a few of the names that are coming in from the Coastal Bend area. Scorers, big men, ball handlers, talent coming in from the Coastal Bend. And then you look at the private school team. You mentioned Jerry Martinez. Teammates also coming in, Bernie Garza, Ethan Gallegos, Lucas Cristiano. That's coming from the Brownsville St. Joseph side. How about the MMA kids with Mackay Blue, Kenneth Jones, Noah Fisher, Frankie Ratliff. And then you're talking about from the state champions on the charter side, the leadership prep of David Oriaku, Scotty Johnson, Tayshawn Livingston, Cedric Denton, Colin Darby, all coming in to be a part of that. They're part of another state champion that'll have representation in our showcase. And then coming out of the Da Vinci School, out of the El Paso area, we got a couple of kids coming over from there, Marvin Arzago, Andres Montana, and Leonardo Espinoza. Now, that was a team that we covered when they won a state championship last year, and they all were back this year, and they're all juniors, which means that there's a good chance there's a collision course coming for Leadership Prep and Da Vinci next year at the state Final Four on the charter side. And so, talent up and down, and you're talking about bigs, shooters, ball handlers. It's all in the mix for our showcase on the boys' side.
Yeah, no, hey, if you're asking me a question about them, you saw them, I didn't. I'm just going to take your word for it.
Yep.
And
Go back and watch some of our broadcasts, my
Yeah.
friends. If you want to know what's coming up, go watch the Charter State Championship game. MMA will tell you all about them in the semifinals, but they're coming, and they've already signed on. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we'll dip into softball. I know it's not a softball kind of day. It certainly wasn't yesterday. Certainly wasn't last night, this morning. But there is some softball just around the corner. Hopefully it will be played tonight. We'll talk about that and some soccer after this from Luke Fruia Motors. Back here, Luke Fruia Motors is our location today on a Wednesday, talking sports here with you. Kevin Naro, I'm Joe Bowling, Rudy Zamaripa Jr. off camera. I told him I was going to put him on here for the basketball segment. He got out of it, but we'll have him on board. Don't worry. He could tell you about Leadership Prep. He got to see him firsthand. Pronto Insurance. You just saw that commercial running. Pronto Insurance is our leading sponsor for our Real Sports Live showcase this year. And so we want to, again, send out a thank you to Pronto Insurance. And now coaches are bugging you to make sure the appearance when Pronto is on board of the Prontissimo.
They want to see Prontissimo. So people who are with Pronto Insurance, he's been requested to make appearances. I know Rainer Cardenas wanted a picture with Prontissimo this past Friday, and he said, where is he? He's like, I want a picture with him. He's like, he couldn't make it. So, but I said, hey, I told the Pronto guys, like, hey, it's picked up a lot of steam. I know the kids really enjoy holding the check and posing for a photo, and the coaches too. If Pronto Insurance people are watching, they really appreciate us working together and being able to provide some form of payment to these athletes. And we don't know the situations these athletes are in. $250 could go a long way. We don't know that.
Yep.
$250 can go as much as buying a couple of things for the dorm. So the coaches do want to thank all of us and Pronto Insurance for making that happen and having that available for their athletes. At the end of the year, they'll choose their athletes, and it's a good deal, and I know it's gotten very popular. And again, so much as they want Prontissimo out at the games. So
can't wait to see the list once the schools provide us the list back on who the recipients were this year of the scholarships that we've been giving out since football. And that's all a direct result of Pronto Insurance assisting us with our Game of the Week and upping it. Mario stepped up with the Game of the Week medals. The Pronto Insurance stepping up, assisting us and being able to hand out the scholarships. I can't wait to see the final list.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good list, and I remind the coaches, when you do select an athlete, just shoot us a photo with whoever that athlete is. We're getting a good blend. We started it in football, and then we picked it back up here in the spring. So we've gotten some soccer again. We've got some male and female athletes in soccer, and now with baseball, we're getting a good blend of baseball and softball for the Game of the Week. And in fact, this week it's Harlingen at Los Fresnos on the softball side. So that's our Pronto Insurance Game of the Week this week on Friday.
That should be a good one. We'll get into softball here in just a moment, but let's touch base with soccer, Kevin. Soccer playoffs have reached round 3 on the boys and the girls side, and there is some major league matchups coming up featuring the RGV teams now and on the horizon.
Right, on the boys side from Tuesday in the area round, Brownsville Rivera 1, San Antonio O'Connor nothing, Harlingen 3, Del Rio 2, Laredo Alexander 2, Edinburgh North 0. In overtime, San Antonio Harlan beat Los Fresnos 2-1 in 5A. Porter blanked Victoria West 4-0. Sherryland beat Corpus Christi Veterans 5-0. Brownsville Lopez beat Laredo Martin 1-0. And La Jolla Juarez Lincoln beat McAllen High 1-0 in the Class 5A. In 4A, Brownsville Idea Sports Park 3, Ingleside 1, Corpus Christi London 3, Edinburgh Idea Quest 0, Brownsville Jubilee 1. Far Idea 0. And then there was a game last night. I don't have the score on that. But, looking back up on the girls' side, Harlingen did win last night, and McAllen High, they did also won last night as well. Looking on the 5As, outside of the Valley matchup between Juarez Lincoln and Mac High, which was 1-0, the Valley went and pitched 3 shutouts. Porter beat Victoria West 4-0. Sherryland beat Veterans 5-0. And Lopez beat Laredo Martin 3-0.
And we look at that, Kevin.
That's impressive.
Sherryland Porter are squaring off in this next round, in round 3. But
right.
Ideally and realistically, 2 of those 3 teams are going to be in the regional tournament.
Yeah.
And it very well could be that 2 of them playing each other for the regional finals.
Yeah, you're looking at a potential Porter, Sherryland / Juarez Lincoln Lopez. Well, Juarez Lincoln Lopez on one end, and then you have Porter and Sherryland on the top side of the bracket. So if I'm a betting man, I'd like to put my money on another All-Valley region final.
Wouldn't be the first.
No, Southwest and Cedar Park is the team that, the guys up top between Porter and Sherryland, and then on the bottom side of the bracket, Leander and then Rouse up on the top of the bracket, Juarez, Lincoln, and Lopez. So, I mean, what a shock, though. We have 2 Brownsville teams.
Yeah, shock, really?
What a shock, wow.
Yeah, it could come down to, and it would not be the first time. I mean, I can remember some memorable matchups in which Brownsville teams have made it to the regional tournament finals, and it was decided who's going to state by playing, in some cases, Corpus Christi. I was covering some of the games up there, and it was deciding out of Brownsville who's going to go to the state. Lopez and Porter are both looking at each other saying, hey, you take care of Sherryland, we'll take care of La Jolla, and then we'll see what sorts out from there, but we'll see in the finals, and that's real. That could happen.
Right. I think it was 2015 when you and I covered the Porter-Pace region final at Cabanis, and, I mean, that was one of the more crazier atmospheres I've been in, because you're talking about literally the city of Brownsville was all there at the old Cabanis, mind you. And I just remember, post-game, all the emotion that went into it, and how, Porter and Pace kind of just came together and, supported each other, that they're from the same town. I'm pretty sure they grew up playing against each other, if not playing with each other, growing up. But it's always cool to see an all-Brownsville region final. But, Juarez Lincoln is just a few years removed from their serious run I believe they went to state when they were in 6A, because I remember they beat Edinburgh North in the region final. So, yeah, they did go to state. And then, of course, you're looking at two teams that have won state before in Porter and in Sherryland. So, if you're Jacob Young, you're jumping through the roof.
Jacob Young is going to be covering some soccer today as the charter schools are reaching their final rounds of the playoffs this week. That'll be played over at the big park.
Idea Toros College Prep, 7 o'clock. It's the quarterfinal playoffs, and it is the Idea Toros against the Marine Military Academy Leathernecks.
That's tonight.
That's tonight at 7
and
on the Leatherneck channel.
That's playoff playoff soccer as well. That's coming, and Jacob Young will then shift gears over to the big park in Edinburgh for the final decision on which team makes it out of this region at the charter level schools to be in the state Final Four. By the way, we've been requested by charter to cover the state semifinals and state championship games this year, boys and girls. And so Jacob Young's going to be making a trip out to Round Rock to cover those. That's on the same weekend as our basketball showcase. Soccer fans who are wondering, well, where are you at for the UIL coverage? Same story as what it was literally thrown down to us. It was dictated in this year, and that was if you want to do playoff anything on UIL side, then tear up all the contracts you have with any sponsors because you can't use the sponsors. Get permissions from entities that are controlling this as to whether that they want to do it or not. Get permissions from the school districts as far as if they're doing it or not. And then once you get all of that done, then go cover the game. But you can't put it on your platforms. You have to put it on a pay-per-view. In other words, fans can't watch it for free. And so it's like take all the money away on being able to cover the games and then take the ability put it free for the fans. And that's what was done to us this year. And there is some legislation that's been introduced at the government level that's trying to fight this to allow the guys such as Rio Sports Live. We're not alone, but we are among them. And as far as being able to cover these, do we want to? Absolutely. Would Jacob Young go cover that Sherryland Porter game in the blink of an eye? Mm-hmm. And we would be there. We've been there. We've been there all the way as long as it was allowed. But in this case, the only way it's allowed is if we can't make any money off of it, so we can't pay anybody, and we have to put it on a pay-per-view.
Right. And to be fair, in our defense, we didn't do playoff basketball either.
No.
So, it's a really just a tug of war that we're at. But on the 6A side, wrapping up the boys before I get to the girls.
Yes.
Friday, 7 o'clock, San Benito at Bobby Morrow. It's going to be Brownsville Rivera on Harlingen. So that one, I talked to Beto Leal earlier today, so they were buzzing there. So Rivera is another school that's still alive in the soccer playoffs, and another team that has won a state championship. So that's cool. I always like to see when it's a third round, when you have an all-valley matchup, guaranteeing someone to go to the regional tournament. On the girls' side in 5A, McAllen Memorial plays Gregory Portland. Two familiar teams. In fact, last year GP beat McAllen Memorial in extra time, what I learned last year. They beat them in McAllen Memorial, so that's a rematch of last year. That's also a third-round matchup. Up top, it's Smithson Valley and Bernie champion, so no Valley fourth-round matchup there. But he's talking about Jacob Young. McAllen Rowe and Mackay play each other in the third round. So
that's just around the corner. That's on Friday.
Right.
Matter of fact, we were talking with the McAllen School District. There may be a way that we can figure out a way to assist them. They're needing a potential broadcast of that. And if we can help put it on the school district platforms, well, that's a game changer because we are certainly willing to try to get our crews in that position. Speaking of crews, again, I've talked about it extensively that during COVID when literally everyone was not working and we were out there in front of games and getting to all of those schools and covering all of those games, it was much easier to find people that wanted to go to games, that wanted to be camera operators, wanted to be announcers. With COVID now, I don't want to say it's gone, but it's not controlling things. More people are back at work, and therefore our crews are limited as far as the number of people that we have to get to games. We're always looking. I know that you're out there. If you're watching, if you have people that that may not be watching, reach out to them and have them reach out to us, me, if you will, so that we can possibly build some additional crews and get expanded coverage into other areas. The camera operators and play-by-play guys, we're looking for you. I've said it many times. It's a broken record. You won't get rich doing what you're doing. I didn't. I certainly haven't. Certainly never will. You won't get rich doing it, but if you enjoy covering sports, if you want to make a few dollars on the side, then Reno Sports Live is certainly an option, something to do in addition to what you're doing to make a living. So that takes care of the soccer matchup. Kevin, we could dive into softball, and we will just a little bit here as we're at Luke Fruia Motors for our show, which usually wraps up about right now. But can't go away without saying a little bit about softball because there's some big matchups there today, tomorrow, and Friday.
Right. You know, the weather really threw a screwball and to all the schedules yesterday. The matchup I was most excited about was going to be Mercedes and Harlingen South. And, you know, with Harlingen South, you know, they got off to that slow start. They started 0-4 in district, and the question marks on, you know, can they turn it around? The answer was yes. There was, you know, you're playing 9 district games in one round and then a whole 9 in another. You know, but hit the nail right on the head about 32-5A being the best district in the valley. And, you know, right now you have Mercedes 9-1, you have Lopez 9-1, you have East 8-2, South 7-3, Brownsville Veterans 6-4. And that all just got hashed out this past Friday with South and East, South and Brownsville Veterans. That game was so important because now you have Brownsville Veterans on the outside looking in at 6-4. And then you still got to play Mercedes one more time. That you still got to play Lopez one more time. You still got to play Westlaco East one more time. So it's going to be very hard for Brownsville Veterans to get back into the playoff mix. They're going to need some help. You know, Harlingen South, they got Haley Vasquez back a week ago. She's eligible now, and, you know, it's amazing in one sport how one player can make the difference and take them to that next level. South isn't completely healthy yet. They're still missing Yezi Perez. She's still not 100% with an ankle injury, but she can still pinch hit here and there. But once she comes back, you're now, you know, just think of it like Altuve. You know, with Altuve out, you're missing your leadoff guy, you're missing your spark plug, and now you got to kind of plug in for that spot. And then when you do add your leadoff man on, it changes the dynamic of the lineup. With Yezi Perez back there, and then now with Haley Vasquez in the mix, you have her batting 5th in the South order as of Friday. So adding her not only at the plate extends your lineup because she hits and she hits her power, but she's also their catcher. So you get a 2-for-1 because with Haley not playing, you had Yezi playing catcher, and then you take away from the shortstop position, which in my opinion, Yezi's a far better shortstop than she is a catcher. So now with Haley back, you know, changing the dynamic behind the plate, now you have her and Lexi as a battery mate, and then you have Yezi back at shortstop once she's healthy. It's you know, they're 7-3 right now. They're playing very good softball. You know, Lexi Sandoval is a sophomore. You know, and on Friday she had 9 strikeouts. She pitched a complete game. She gave up 5 hits, 2 of them which came in the first inning and in the 5th, and then the 3 hits and the 1 run came in the 7th. But what impressed me the most is she had 0 walks. She had a complete game. She had 9 strikeouts and she had 0 walks. And this was following her 13 strikeout performance on Tuesday against Westlaco East, which was the biggest game that Harlingen South had until that date. You know, but Brownsville Lopez, they play Westlaco East now tomorrow at 6:30 at Brownsville Lopez. That game is just as important if Brownsville Lopez wants to keep pace with Mercedes, who are both 9-1. Brownsville Lopez, you know, the Lazama girls are incredible. Jenny Shank, you know, she is a sophomore this year. That team, they're completely loaded, and they're, you know, they're not sneaking up on anybody anymore this year. And, of course, Mercedes, you know, with Zelka Macho, you know, in the spring break week, you know, she pitched an absolute gem. against Brownsville Veterans. She went all 11 innings and 154 pitches as around what she threw in that game. So, and it was ironic because that was on a Monday. That Friday, Saturday, Montana Fouts from Alabama threw 161 pitches in 11 innings. So that's a lot on your arm, but that kid, I mean, she pitched her tail off. And Mercedes is playing really well, but that is the main district, and I talked about it earlier about the 35A, how it's kind of, it's unfortunate that we kind of forget about that district because they get tied in with Nixon and Martin and Figueroa, and they always have to play out west. But that 35A district is really good. It's very talented. Adi Sines from Palmview, you have Mickey Castillo from Mission Veterans, and you have Desi Sines from Rio Grande City. So there's plenty of pitching out west of the valley, and to think about that, the 29-5A with the Corpus Christi Veterans District, Carroll's really good, mixed in with the 32-5A down here, so it's going to make for a really good second, third round eventually. But 32-5A is certainly the cream of the crop this year, and then 32-6A, tonight I'll be covering the Rivera against Harlingen. That all of a sudden is a spot for fourth. That all of a sudden, those two teams are going to be fighting for the fourth spot, looking up at Los Fresnos, Weslaco, and San Benito. And tonight, Elias Martinez said they were still checking on their fields. We don't know for certain yet if Los Fresnos and San Benito plays tonight. But San Benito, they're just really flexing on some teams. Speed, power, pitching, you name it. Their infield is incredible. I mean, if you ever get a chance to watch their infield at that speed, Emily Delgado, Kylie Sanchez, Bethany Aguilar, she's going to go to U of H to play there. So, I mean, you've seen Elias just as long as I have. And when he has those teams rolling, they're rolling. And, I mean, I said it last week. I wasn't shy that they're the number one team we have this year in the Valley. And it's kind of not close because of just how good they are with the pitching and the hitting.
Yeah, Elias Martinez teams when they're rolling, they roll, and that's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to do it for our show for right now. Again, I want to remind you that the Real Sports Live showcase on the basketball side is April 14th, 15th, and 16th. Tickets through the RGV Vipers. The games will be played at the arena and the RGV Vipers practice facilities, and look forward to 150-plus players all converging for that weekend. And also keep track of what we're doing on the social media side with posts and, tune into our games on the Real Sports Live Network. We are doing some tweaks to the app. I know we've had some Android users that have signed on with the app on Android. We've got some changes that should help you on getting that to a full screen. There's some additional changes coming up on the app that are all improvements that will assist us there. If you haven't loaded it already on your smart televisions, on your Amazon Fire, you can certainly find Real Sports Live there. On Roku, on Android TV, you can load the Real Sports Live app and watch them at home on the big screen TVs without having to cast them from your device or your phone. So the apps are going through some changes. They have been going through changes. They are going to be going through changes over the next few days. But I encourage you, if you haven't done so already, download the app on your Apple Play Store, on your Google Play Store, on your Amazon Fire, on Roku, on Android TV. It's going to do it for our show. Again, our thanks to Luke Fruia Motors, home of Buick, GMC, and Cadillac in Brownsville, Texas. New and used cars. They've got them. They got a car lot full. Showroom is full of some new cars out here. I just walked past a couple as we were bringing our equipment in that caught my eye. And so it certainly can catch your eye if you're in the market for new or used cars. Contact them here at Luke Fruia Motors, one of our primary sponsors here on Real Sports Live. Day in, day out, we always thank them. Till next time for Real Sports Live, that's Kevin Naro. I'm Joe Bowling. Rudy Zamripa behind the scenes with a trash can.